Welcome to Fuzzybutts and Friends. Well, as much as it drives Fuzzybutts all over this place absolutely crazy when they hear me say it, I am the host of this show, Yer Big Dog, Luke Robinson, back again with you this week. And look over there, gracing our presence again this week, it's Ginger Morgan. She's our co-host. She's also the executive director of the Puppy Up Foundation. Ginger, other than the weather, how are you?
I don't know anything about the weather, but I do have some things to talk about as usual.
Good, go right ahead.
So our Puppy Up calendar, which used to be Cancer Can't Keep a Good Dog Down, and we changed the name to Dogs Helping Dogs. It is on our website now, and you can order it if you want to order more than 10. And hey, you can give it to your friends, your family, your clients. Anyway, if you want to order more than 10, contact me at ginger@puppyup.org, and I can give you a discount code.
Yeah,
so it's puppyup.org/shop.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your last plug there. My apologies. But I wanted to say that you guys do such a beautiful job honoring our companions. And also, now that we've expanded it, also just you do a wonderful job of the calendar every year. I started it back on the first walk, as you know, as Cancer Can't Keep a Good Dog Down, to raise a little bit of money and also make us remind us why we do this, why we do the Puppy Up Foundation. And also, Ginger, that November is I got it wrong last time. It's Canine Cancer Awareness Month, correct? But Pet Cancer Awareness Month is when?
May.
All right. That's absolutely the worst segue I think possible to a guest on our show, and the audience will understand it here in a second. But it is truly, Ginger, it is an honor to have our guest on the show, because he's here to talk about a very important part of the life cycle of having Fuzzybutts. It's Daniel Russom with Dixie Memorial Pet Gardens. Daniel, welcome to Fuzzybutts and Friends, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Now, did I get the name right? Because I've always called it Dixie Memorial Pet Cemetery, but I went to the website. Is it correct? And it's Dixie Memorial Pet Gardens now?
Correct. I think it kind of changed at some point.
I love it. That's the way it should be. I love your place. So let's preface this for a second for our audience, Ginger. I should have done that, but I didn't look at my notes. I'm a knucklehead as always. But we have history. Dixie is in Memphis, and recently did a puppy up walk here in Memphis, and had a chance to talk to Daniel. And what I forgot to mention, Ginger, is that we've used Dixie's services many times for our own Fuzzybutts here in the Puppy Up family. Yes. So it's a tremendous honor to have Daniel on the show today to talk about Dixie Memorial. So Daniel, we like to start the show. I guess I should also preface it by, I'll get there in a second. Let's start with you. Look, we like to start the show with Fuzzybutts. So do you have any Fuzzybutts?
Currently, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I guess it was last year we lost our last one, and we had four of them just go one right after the other. And so it was just kind of tough. My wife says, I kind of need a break. That's too much at once. So I believe the Lord will bless us when it is time, and they'll find us. My two little girls are dying for a cat. So
I bet they are, women and cats.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but you want a dog, of course. But I'm so sorry, Daniel, to hear about your losses. I know it takes a long time to recover from one, but four, that's quite a bit. So my heart goes out to you and your family and your daughters. It must have been tough for them too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but
I still talk about it.
Good for them. It's important for them to understand the bond and learn that at an early age. But you seem like you had that type of household. But I do think it's important for children to understand the life cycle of companion animals, and I think it starts at the family and the home. They're the beginning. So in that vein, now it's time to preface it. I think it's the appropriate time to preface it. Is that Daniel is not the proprietor and owner of Dixie Memorial. That's Barbara. And Ginger and I were talking. Ginger and I both know Barbara, and we kind of understand. But I thought it was funny that business owner doesn't want to promote her own business owner, not promoting her own business. But I understand Barbara she's done such a great job with Dixie Memorial here in Memphis, but it's just not her thing. And for some people, they don't like it, talking in public and presenting publicly. That's not their strong point. But she's done such a great job there. So we're grateful that she allowed you to come talk on her behalf today.
She probably would have taken over, and you wouldn't have got to talk very much.
That's actually why Ginger said no. Actually, Ginger was talking to Josh, and they both schemed. No, let's get.
But what I love about it is she came up with this vision of this place, and I think it's a beautiful place. And just to be able to give owners that peace and that closure, and to kind of memorialize those memories and the life of that pet. And I just think that's wonderful. I never knew such a thing existed till somebody quit. And then I was like, what? I'm a country boy. We just did the old fashioned thing.
Right.
Put them in your backyard. And it's like, this is wonderful.
Because Barbara's been at this for probably 30 plus years, I'm guessing.
Started
So
in
That was
19.
going to be my next question. When did she start it?
She opened in 1992.
Wow.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
but that right there is so powerful, and it speaks to the importance of the work that Barbara has done, because Tennessee in 1992, people weren't putting pet cemeteries high on their priority list and as an expense, right? As an expense item.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Yeah, I grew up in Texas, and it's hard to compare Texas to Tennessee because I mostly know Tennessee by virtue of Memphis and a little bit of Nashville. But in Texas, yeah, that's exactly how we handle when your pet, they don't call them companion. Well, they do now, but back then they didn't call them companion animals. When your pet passes away, you put them in the pasture or the backyard, one way or the other. And that's the way you honor them. So in 1992, 31 years later, wow, you guys are still around and doing so wonderfully. So let's what about so in addition to your Fuzzybutts, we also like to start with your origin story, but you just spoke to that. So you weren't obviously how recent are you? When did you come on at Dixie?
I think it was 2013. So I've been here.
Well, you've been there a while.
Maybe 2011. I don't, but I've been here somewhere around 12 years or so.
Okay, so that's after Malcolm passed, or Murphy passed, but that was you've been there since Hudson. That's right. They shipped Hudson from Mississippi.
Right.
I don't know why I even went there because anyway.
So he's been there. He's taken care of the majority of the animals that I've lost. I lost Pete in 10, so that was before you. But and as you know, when my phone number pops up on anybody at Dixie Memorial's the cell phone, when I called Josh the other day, he was like, hello? I'm like, are you okay? Did I wake you up? And I didn't realize that I actually have his personal cell. And so when I've called him like on the weekends, he goes, oh, hey, Ginger, like I'll ask him a question. He goes, well, I'm not at work today, but I'll check on that for you on Monday. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that, guys. My apologies for the audience that's not watching this on our YouTube channel. I just got a little teary-eyed. And so, Ginger, thanks for picking up. Yeah, Hudson was a tough one. But we've never met before, and I was glad to meet you at the Puppy Up Walk. And it's also so powerful to hear about your story. So then, for the Fuzzybutts that you lost, then I'm quite certain that you used the services there since you.
Correct. I've actually cremated my own and went through the whole process, and that's a very somber experience. To place them in the machine, and then when you open it back up, what is there? And it's just it's just different. There's a piece about it, but it's weird. And so now when I get to do it, I can honestly say, I'm going to treat your pet just like I treat mine. And
that's so important.
Yes, sir. It is, because people.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You're all right. Yeah, people just think some people are worried about us just being not caring, and
And it's just a business. It's just a business to you.
Right. You know, they think that, you know, you're just doing your job. And there's some of that. But when it comes to that part of handling and transporting and everything, we try to be as loving and caring and, you know, as we possibly can.
Well, that's what I like about Dixie. One, if my animal passes at home, I can take them right to Dixie.
Yes.
I live in Memphis. It's maybe a 30-40 minute drive, but I'm not taking them out of my area. And I've always appreciated it. I know when my dog Pete passed away in 2010, there was an employee there, and you may have replaced him. And I had some business dealings with him prior to him being at Dixie and for me needing your services. And we were not necessarily friends, let's just put it that way. But I knew when I went there, because of Barbara and Dixie Memorial, that my dog Pete would be treated as if he belonged to one of the employees.
Yes, ma'am.
And, you know, even though that employee and I did not see eye to eye on many things in the past, I knew that Pete would be treated with respect and honored in the way that I would want him to be. And that's one of the reasons, like, it's been Pete, and I won't name all of them, but I don't know if people can see that.
Your audio is cutting out, Ginger.
It's because I moved,
Yes.
probably. If you can see that photo, and I know the light's on there.
Right.
In that photograph, all those dogs have been handled by Dixie, except the one that is
Wow.
still living. Thank God.
That's
That would be
cool. I've never seen
Lily.
anybody
Wow.
do-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, you're good.
Unless-
I've just
yeah,
never seen. No, I'm
Pardon?
sorry.
I'm going to be quiet.
I think it took me a second. It's taken us a second to get back on track after I broke up there for a moment. So
You're good, man.
yes, because I did want to, before we get into your services and we talk about all the beautiful services that you provide there and how it happens and how it occurs and the honor in which that you remember our loved ones. I do like to talk about business. I'm a data guy, so businessman as well. Do you know, Daniel, anything about the industry of aftercare for companion animals? Like in terms of, do we know like how many pet parents out there choose aftercare in either in the form of burial or interment or cremation, or what is the other option? I guess some type of, I'm sorry, I don't even know what the other option is. It just,
No, you're good. Part of the reason she started this is she found out if the owner couldn't afford to do a premium service or burial or something along those lines, they would release the body to the clinic for disposal. They were going to the landfill.
oh,
And she couldn't bear that, which I completely agree. You know, that's just doesn't seem right. That's God's creation. So she started that. So we go to clinics and we pick up and we do a group cremation for those, kind of like our scatter guard. But Mississippi, I think, still has some of that they do. If it goes to the city, that's where they go. I think Arkansas has some like that, some clinics like that. So we're trying to reach out so that we can just respectfully, put them to rest in that manner versus that happening.
it's so wonderful.
Right. You know, when I guess probably 20 plus years ago, I lost a little dog, and my vet said, "Do you want us to handle it?" And I didn't even think about it. You know, that's one of the reasons why I really talk Dixie Memorial up, is people need to know ahead of time. And
Right.
I said, yes. Well, I didn't find out until years later what actually happened to him, that he went to the landfill. And to this day, I kick myself in the behind about that, because I just didn't know.
Right.
That would haunt me. That would haunt me.
Yeah, it does.
It is so good that you do that, and that Dixie Memorial does that, because that shouldn't be the way of things. And I'm with you. We'll talk about cremation here in a bit, but I'm with you. There is a purification aspect of it. There's a closure aspect of it. There is a return to the thing, the way that we started, if you think that way.
Right.
and there's the circle of life as well. So at a minimum, all companion animals, you could even extend that to all animals if that's where you want to go. It's so hard for nowadays. I've met so many people that have farm animals as companions that the term companion versus farm, it just blurs to me. So no, as you said, God's creation, none of God's creations deserve that. So thank you guys, and send my thanks to Barbara. Would love to take a trip out there, Ginger, and see Barbara again and come out there. All right. Do we know then, Daniel, back to the original question, do we have any idea how many pet parents choose aftercare versus disposal? I hate even that term.
Yes, sir. It's hard to say because I mean we do a lot of scatter gardens, we do a lot of private cremations. I think we do around, for private cremations, we do somewhere around right now 400 to 450 a month. Scatter gardens probably going to be probably around 150 a month. And then we do a lot of the contract pickups through the clinics. So that's most of what we do. So they all come here.
It would be hard to assess that compared to Memphis, the total number, right, in Memphis. So
and we service Memphis, we service Arkansas and Mississippi.
Wow.
So we've got a fairly good size area.
Well, they're all three kind of here together, so it does make it easy, but that you cross state lines, I think that's very important as well. I was just curious if it was 10%. I don't know why I'm a numbers person. It's just the way I was born.
Oh, that's a good question.
But it's a curiosity because I look at it as a goal, right? If only 1 out of every 10 pet parent chooses aftercare of some sort, and the other is the other, right? Then we have some work to do, right? We've got to educate some people. We need to go out and meet with vet clinics. We need to get out there in the public and talk to them about it's not prohibitively expensive. Like you said, you have the scatter gardens there. We can go into that in a minute. But there are alternatives to do something respectful rather than the other alternative.
I would say it's a fairly big number, especially in Memphis, if you're in city limits, you're not supposed to be able to put your pet in your yard.
Correct. That is illegal, right? You cannot inter your pet on your property.
Yes, sir. In most places it is.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, right. Okay, so on from the business side of things, let's talk about Dixie Memorial. So walk us through as a pet parent having to come to you for the first time. Walk us through the services that you offer and the procedure, how it works there.
Okay. If you don't want to bring your pet to us, you can call the office. They'll get your information. We pick up from home. We will also pick up from your clinic, or like I said, you can bring them to us. And then we've got, the website, dixiememorial.com. We've got our different services. Let's just say you're going to go with a private cremation. Kind of the starting place. We've got a velvet bag, which is where if you're going to scatter at home or you want to purchase your own urn, and that starts at $275. And then we've got a basic urn package, which we've got several to choose from. It's $290. And there's obviously pickup fees and things like that. And then we do different types of paw prints. We do ink and clay and laser paw. We do fur clippings. Wow. We can even do nose prints, which are a little more challenging. We've gotten fairly good at it.
I think I started the whole nose print thing.
I think you did.
With PJ, I have PJ's nose print, and that was, let me tell you, I will just say that Josh went above and beyond to get PJ's nose print.
Yes, ma'am. They're a little more challenging.
We need to talk to Barbara about Puppy Up getting 10% of that nose print business, Ginger. We came up with the idea. That business part of me, it's just a natural thing. I've tried as hard throughout my life to not be a businessman because it's so hard to talk about the business of any medical care with the companion animals when you talk about price. And it's a reality. We all know it. And sometimes it's a barrier. It's a tremendous barrier for some folks, especially in this horrible economy that we've are all subjected to. So it's tough to talk about the business side of things. but it is important because you have to make pet parents know, you have to educate them that that is affordable. So you tell me again, I was just curious, the scatter gardens was how much to do that? Or did we go over that yet? Ginger, did we lose him? Is he paused? I think we lost Daniel.
Maybe.
Yes, we lost Daniel. All right, we're going to pause this for 1 second and see if we can get there. He is.
He's back.
Okay.
There he's back.
I don't know what happened.
You just like it. It's almost looked like you passed away right there because you were back in your chair and you had this expression on your face. and I have a morbid mind too. That's more.
No worries.
Yeah. So glad you're back again. If it happens again, we'll just pause it. So I guess before we get into the scatter gardens, let's just go through you were talking about the services, all the different services you offer.
Yes, sir. You know, and we haven't raised our prices since she opened. There's a couple of urns that we've had to, but her prices have been the same since she started.
Is that true?
Yes, sir. You know, and a lot of people are telling us, you know, we're expensive because I can go here and it's cheaper on the front end. It appears that way. And then you get there and find out it's a lot more. And I don't want to speak bad of anybody else. I think you need to kind of come together type of thing, but we're not trying to be competitive. We're trying to just be compassionate and understanding and be there for that in that moment. And you know, we've
compassionate and viable as a business.
Yes, sir. You know, you've got to make money, obviously, but it's one of those. I wish we could be a nonprofit, but it unfortunately it doesn't work like that.
Right.
But
right.
You know, I know that how I feel about animals and how many I've had in my lifetime, and all the guys here, and especially Barbara. Barbara's had several animals herself, and we just want to. Since we've all had to kind of go through that, we know how it is to lose and just that love and that loss. And so we just really always are striving to provide that for people, to be that comforting. You know, we have a lot of people that come in and then they need to talk about it.
Right.
And so sometimes we end up doing a little bit of that bereavement support while they're here. It's one of those, if they come in crying and they're laughing when they leave, we did a good job. Yeah. And which isn't always the case. Some people don't even want to think about laughing, but we just want to try to comfort them and ease them through the process. And because, you know, a lot of people don't want to leave. You know, I don't want to leave my baby. So a lot of times they bring it to us. We can have it done that same day and they can take it home before the day is over. So
it fascinates me how people respond and deal with grief differently. Like me, the moment the life leaves the body and it's gone, it's almost like the what remains is of little interest to me. It's not that it's of little interest to me, but it's gone, right? It's gone.
Your spirit is gone. Yeah.
And that's why for me, cremation is the way I've always gone. Plus, I want something with me. I have cremation jewelry where I keep the cremains of all three of my boys that I've lost to cancer on me. And so that's an important thing. But you do offer interment services there.
Yes, sir.
And because I know I've been there, and I wish maybe we'll figure out, Ginger, how to put up maybe links to photographs of Dixie Memorial. It's beautiful there. It's absolutely stunning. It
is really pretty.
There's a wooden bridge over into a little island in a pond where I think that's where the scatter gardens is. I think if I recall correctly. But
yes,
you also have, you have a cemetery there. So talk to us about that. First, begin with how many, do you know how many sites you have versus capacity versus availability, if you speak in those terms?
I think we have about 8,000 or so, give or take a little bit, that are buried here.
Wow.
And we're only using about 8 acres currently.
Okay.
But there is 24 acres in total. And it's not all developed. Some of it's being leased for farmland currently, just trying to be proactive.
Absolutely.
So we've got plenty of room to grow. I think there's enough that I'll be dead and gone before we ever fill up on that.
Well, I shudder to think of that happening, but with 6 million cases of new cancer in dogs every year, and that's not going to slow down. There's nothing out there that's going to, maybe there's one or two actually drugs out there that will extend life, but we know it's the numbers are just getting higher and higher. So we hope that's never necessary. So you've got plenty of space out there. It's beautiful out there. How many? Okay, so talk to me about your own business. How many of your own clients, pet parents that come in, Daniel? How many of them choose interment versus cremation? Do you know?
I would say we probably do at least one burial every 2 weeks.
Okay.
So most of ours are going to be private cremation, scattered garden.
And
Yeah,
I do think, and even though you do have the land, as you pointed out, is that thankfully you're using that space being put to use,
correct.
which that's a wonderful thing. But as you know, and we all know, is that that's a valuable resource, and cremation just seems like in the future, as our population continues to mushroom out, that's going to be really the most viable way, alternative for both humans and our companion animals.
And it's one of those, if people decide the place is so beautiful, but they want their pet cremated, but they want them here, we also provide an urn burial service.
Okay.
And so it comes with a headstone and everything like that. So we try to cover all the bases.
Is that a separate crematorium, or do you actually bury the urn?
We just do the cremation as a private cremation, and then we have a urn that we use for that. And then we bury the urn, and then it's got a marker that sits over that top of that urn.
Okay. Do you I can't recall. Do you have a crematorium there where like the?
Yes, sir. We have 4 currently.
Okay. Okay. Did I use that term wrong, incorrectly? Is the crematorium the one where you have?
Like a mausoleum.
Mausoleum, or the place where you go, where you can go and they have all the cremations and they're lined up. I can't. I guess that would be like a mausoleum.
Built, but it is not currently
okay.
Usable yet. She hasn't quite made up her mind on it.
Okay. Okay.
But we do have one.
So you have pet parents once a week. There's a burial. So that's 52 a year. So that's a very small percentage. But I guess I understand it that they want to have a beautiful place to come out and to have their own private memorial with their loved one. So I completely understand it.
We've probably done more than 52 this year.
Okay.
Because you have some weeks where there's just, you feel bad for them, but they'll come in and you'll have 3 burials in a week, and then you'll skip a couple of weeks, and but now that winter's coming on, we seem to get a lot busier in the wintertime for some reason.
Unfortunately so. I think so many of Ginger, I think many of yours have passed away, and winters are just a cruel season for
summers are what I hate. When the summer rolls around, I get really nervous. But I have walked the grounds at Dixie, and it's really interesting to see that the service dogs that are buried there and the canine police dogs that are there. And I don't know if you all still do that, but like Pete was a therapy dog, and I know that you all provided his services for free because he was a therapy dog.
Yes, yeah.
Now, do you all still do that for therapy dogs and service dogs? And I want to say, and the police dogs as well?
Yes, ma'am. That is correct.
Yeah, had Ginger read my talking points that I provided you beforehand, she would see that the honor garden is right there, front and center. But I didn't want to miss that. I do want to get into it because it's that part of it is so important. So if we could just hold that off for a little bit, Ginger's always.
I thought that was the
always
next
up in the bit and ready to get. We're not there yet because I do have so many more questions, and I want to stick with interment for a second because I am curious. What is the cost differential between interment and cremation, just generally?
Again, it's going to be based on how large your pet is.
Sure.
I believe like a 24-inch casket would start at $650, and then it would go up from there as your pet was larger. And then we do a maintenance, which I know with people you're always continually paying on it. Once this one, it's $500. Once it's paid, it's done.
Wow.
And so for burial and private cremation, if people are like, I'm not going to be able to pull myself together, they can come in or even call, and we can go ahead and have everything arranged and taken care of and have it done. So when that unfortunate moment happens, they can come in it all is taken care of and we can just go through the process.
So
that's what I think is so important for people to know, to be able to plan ahead. Like with Pete, bless his heart, he was a big dog. He was 14 when he passed away, but I think I had conversations with Barbara when he was like 12, because I didn't want something to happen to him suddenly. And then I'm like, well, what do I do now? Because my experience before was that bad one where I told the vet when they said, should you want us to take care of it? And I said, yes. Well, I obviously knew that wasn't going to happen. So I just think it's so important that people plan ahead.
So interment, so it is, and is. We'll get to pre-planning here, pre-planning services also on the talking points here in a minute.
Man.
Ginger, it's a conversation that's I'm being silly and I'm being funny. I do try to bring a little bit of humor to the extent that I can on a very, very, very emotionally tough conversation, especially for some people to deal with it. But so interment, just to go back to that, interment is not that much more expensive than cremation, except for the additional 500, the additional that once that's paid off, there's no more obligation. So it's not, I was thinking interment was like 5 times, 10 times more expensive, but that's not the case, it seems like.
Yeah,
I think like that depends on the size of your dog too.
Right.
Right.
I think the biggest casket is right around like $950, but that also includes, the 12 by 6 marker. That includes the casket. And then that also includes them getting to come to the chapel and view them, and they get groomed and that sort of thing beforehand.
Wow. Yes, I didn't think about those services. I never thought about that before, but yes, absolutely. Those are necessary for the service. But you also price according to size with cremation as well, though. So that's
only with the scatter guard.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
I thought I was mistaken with that. Okay, so there's one uniform price then.
Yes, sir. Unless it's, like a smaller pet, like we do hamsters and ferrets and snakes and birds and stuff. It would be cheaper than our $290. So I think a hamster is like $50 to do, because the little guy's so small.
You gotta let the little bro go out good though, man.
That's right.
You have to do right by the little bros in the world, don't you? And
Yes,
I find that wonderful that you do it. I find it wonderful that parents do that. But just out of curiosity, how many of the non-typical companion animals do you get a year, do you think?
Quite a bit.
Really?
Yes, sir. Quite a bit.
Well, again, to appeal to my morbid curiosity, what is the most unusual companion animal that you've dealt with?
Definitely snakes. I think we've cremated a fish before. It was different.
Well, it's better than putting it down the loo, the toilet. That's not
exactly
like the little kids do sometimes.
Yeah, my kids asked me, we had a beta that died, and that's exactly what they asked me to do. Can you take it to work in cremating for us, Daddy? So,
that is so cute. What are your girls' names?
Ava and Abigail.
I'm sorry?
My oldest, Ava, Abigail, and then my oldest is Adrian.
Congratulations to that. I have 6 nieces and 1 nephew. So I know what it's like to have young girls. It's so wonderful to have them around. So fish and snakes. Well, I actually had a ball python I love the animal world. I love creatures of all sorts and all sizes. And so I get that. And I find it heartwarming that even in Tennessee, you have people bringing their curious companion animals to be, to say goodbye to properly, as it were.
Yes, sir.
All right. So moving on from interment, let's go to cremation. I think is there anything that we didn't discuss? You have the options are you just select the urn, or if you can't afford that, then you can choose the scatter guards. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about that? The service? Because I know where you do it is so beautiful. Do you have a service there, please? Do you have a service part of that?
I don't think I understood the question. I'm sorry.
That's all right. How does
rambled?
I do, and I stutter too. It's part of my pathology, but I apologize. But do you is there a service a part of the scatter garden, or is it just that's something that you do?
Okay. Yeah, the scatter garden, it's a group cremation.
Okay.
And then on Sundays at 2, as long as it's weather permitting, we go across the Rainbow Bridge. And then we ask, do they have any stories that they want to share or anything that they want to say? And then it's a brief moment and we go and scatter throughout the flower beds on the island. And then, we just again ask anybody, is there anything that they would like to talk about or say? And if it's me, I thank them for coming to share the memories of their loved one, and just kind of that last goodbye and to honor them with that.
Well, truthfully, Ginger, I don't think I've ever met another memorial gardens or cemetery before, so I don't really have any comparables. I don't know if anybody else provides that, but I think it's wonderful that Dixie does. I think it's wonderful because you would think in some cases, some people might say, we'll scatter them once a week, don't worry about it. But that you offer a public service for anyone that will be scattering, that will be a part of that group scattering of the ashes, that they can come out and participate in the service. I think, and you do that once a week. Yeah, Ginger, I would love to go out and is it okay if if people that don't have a don't know the right word, that don't have a reason to be a part of the service to still come out and honor and
Of course, we welcome visitors to come and see the place. And
didn't want to call it a visitor because that seemed a little bit disrespectful. So Ginger, I would love to maybe take some of our that would be weird. I would love for us to go out and just attend the services and just listen and be a part of that because it's so beautiful out there. We should do that, Ginger.
and we welcome people.
I did that for Yoshi, my cat, Yoshi.
That's right.
She's scattered out there. So every time I go out there, I walk over the Rainbow Bridge.
Yeah, well,
We love it when people bring their loved ones with them to see us before they're anywhere near close to that. Just because I don't mean to sound cruel, but it's nice to get to see them alive. I know that sounds weird. I can't think of how to phrase that, but you get to know them and to rub on them and pet on them, and it's something special about it. And so we welcome people to bring their pets out here and take them and walk them around. Come in and see us. We're it's a shining light on their day some days, and we need that as well. So yeah, people bring
I
their
never
dogs
really
out.
thought about that.
Yeah, that was almost like a morbid Luke question. Something that I would ask is it easier or harder for you to meet a potential customer down
We've had
the
that
road?
happen. I've had that happen quite a few times.
But you answered it and said, yes, we would love to. It's just a strange thing to think about. But yes, of course, you would love to meet them while they're still living, right?
Correct. And you want to know them personally. You want their backstory, their personality. Animals are just like people. And there was 2 that came in yesterday to say goodbye to their loved one and their best friends. And one of them looked like Lady from Lady and the Tramp. She's beautiful, sweet, and soft. And the other one was a little poodle mix, and he was really pretty. Just looked like a teddy bear. I just wanted to rub all over him. And I reached down to, he just started barking. He's like, no, 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 no. And it's like, I'm so sorry. She's like, no, that's just him. But the other one says, I'll take all that loving you got. Give it all to me. And so I relish in that. It's just a part because, like I said, you just get to know them better.
Yeah.
And then when they come in, you're normally it hurts and tugs at your heartstrings a little more, but it's nice knowing who they were.
And every parent that comes in there, we all do it, that this was my boy, this was my girl, this was special. And it helps you when you can speak to that and know them by name, know that, something special and unique about them. It personalizes it. And that's so important in your profession. It's also so important in veterinary medicine, which is why bedside manner is so crucial for veterinarians. But for yours especially, that personal connection is important. I don't know. I'd have to think about if I would want to take one of Mike, if I want to bring Indiana out there, Ginger, if we go to one of the service do I want Nana out there. It's just it's I do want you to meet Nanny. He's a great guy, Indiana Jones. But he's getting up there, and hopefully the horizon is still far in the future, God willing. But I find the most fascinating thing is how every person has a different relationship with the life cycle of their own companion animal, and how they handle it. Every phase of it is just a fascinating thing. Let's go into, now that we discussed the scatter gardens, now let's talk about the honor garden, because I knew about it, Ginger. I don't think I knew enough about it as much as you, and I didn't recall Pete being a part of that. So my apologies for not recalling that. But tell us about your honor gardens and what you do, the honor garden, and what you do for service dogs, service animals, I guess.
Yes, sir. We've got canines, drug dogs, police dogs. We've got an Air Force, some firehouse dogs. I think we have a seeing eye dog, and some airport drug dogs or bomb dogs. And so all the headstones are uniform. That's the only thing we don't provide, is we ask that the department or whatever pay for that. We sell it to them at cost. But yeah, we don't charge for the burial, the service, the casket, or anything like that. And it's beautiful when I think the last one we did was a firehouse dog, beautiful Dalmatian. And it
Was that recently? Relatively
ma'am.
recently? Yeah.
I can't remember the name. We've still got the picture. But just when all the departments come in together, and they come in, we do a service in the chapel, and there's only standing room only at that point. And they put pictures on the TV or some video, and it's just like for people, they get up and tell stories, and there wasn't a dry eye in here at that point in time. And then we've got the sea of blue. I always wonder about the people when they all leave at the same time, what they think's going on, because there's nowhere to park. There's police cars everywhere. And
yeah,
I love to see that. And same thing with families, when a whole family comes in together. And so then we take the casket out to the graveside, and we lower it. Normally there's a minister that comes, or a chaplain and such, and they pray and that sort of thing. And because those animals are, there's more than just service animals. They're a service to all of our community. They've saved lives in some sense or another, a protection, and the things that they do. I mean, they're police officers, they're firemen. And I just think that's cool.
Yeah, they choose a service, it's a service not of their own choosing, I guess. Hopefully, maybe one day, with the exception of maybe service animals that take care of disabled, and well, actually, maybe that I kind of hope that for the really dangerous jobs, AI dogs will take over, because I don't want any companion animals unnecessarily in harm's way. And they don't choose that service. Although, as you know, and of course Ginger knows, is that dogs, and of course our audience knows as well, is that some companion animals love to be of service. They love to be in the service of others, love to be in the service of community. And that's something that we should honor. And it's wonderful and beautiful that Dixie does that.
One of the ones I forgot to mention is the search dogs from Search Dog South.
Search and rescue. Absolutely.
Yes, sir. People go missing and things like that. Those are some fantastic dogs. We get to see them a handful of times, and just how sweet they are. And we're, like I said, it's wonderful when pets come to see us and get to love on them. Yes,
it also provides, I think, a break, and a much needed break, and also a reminder of that you're at the downstream side of the life cycle. Occasionally you need to be on the other side of that, and it's important to keep a balance. It's like, I think someone that spends an entire lifetime in rescue and shelter dogs, it's compassion fatigue. It's just that I know I have, and Ginger has as well. We've been dealing with cancer in dogs for 15 years, and it's times almost driven me mad. And it's tough, and it's brutal when you get emails every day, and you're always online, and every social media you get on, and yet another one has passed away. It's just a lot. It's a lot, and it's tough, especially when you have the kind of love that we have for our mates. All right. So I always feel like I keep feeling like I'm half on the verge of crying and half on the verge of laughing
I'm right there with you,
in
man.
this podcast. I apologize to the audience. I'm not my
All
usual
right.
self, but I'm crossing a line, or not crossing a line. I'm walking a line, I guess I should say.
Hey,
So
Luke, I do want to
yes,
clarify that Pete is not part of the honor garden. He's not buried out there.
correct. You had it cremated. I knew that, of course.
Correct. I just wanted to make sure people didn't get confused because Pete was not he was not buried out there.
Okay, okay. But Dixie provided the
Exactly.
correct.
They provided the services, the cremation services for Pete free. I
Yeah.
believe I may have paid for the urn, but I don't remember that. I may have.
I don't know
But
if you said this episode. You usually don't miss a chance when you're talking about Pete, but Pete was the first service dog at St. Jude's. So did you mention that?
he was not a service dog, he was a therapy dog.
Therapy
So
dog.
he was
Yes.
the first therapy dog at St. Jude, along with his two friends, Chewy or Chewbacca and Snazzy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
It is interesting. Service dogs are also, I think, probably better balanced dogs as well. You don't have a lot of the crazy. You can't have a lot of the crazy. You can't. I don't think you can have a crazy service dog. So
Oh, I don't know. He got to be a little bit crazy, but when he had his, I call it his going to town collar and leash, and then we put a vest on him. When that vest was on him, his head was up and he was like, he knew he was going to work. Um, when we would drive down uh, North Parkway and you could see the pyramid, he knew St. Jude was right there and he started whining to get to play with the kids. It was really cute.
um yeah, I got to know Pete for a few years of his life, and he was all that. He was a wonderful guy, and he deserved to be remembered. He's so they all do, all of them do in their own unique ways, even the irritating ones. What about Daniel? What about private services? Yeah, that's Pete. Ginger is pointing. If you're not watching our YouTube channel,
That's
she's
Pete.
pointing out her painting. It's a painting of Pete.
It is.
Yeah, beautiful painting of Pete on her that hangs on her wall. Daniel, what about so say that I come to you and I say, Daniel, I want to cremate my boy, but I'd also love to do a private service or something. Do you offer private services out there, Dixie, that doesn't involve interment?
Yes, sir. So it would kind of be, we have the chapel, and then we also have an outdoor gazebo that we can do a service out there as well. And, we would basically, if you wanted to come back with your family, like you brought them to us, then we would go ahead and, if needed be, which normally most of the time they get a bath, they get blow dried, and which is normally one of my jobs. And so we just try to make them beautiful, look like they're just asleep. And then you would come with your family or just you by yourself, and then y'all would spend some time, and if you've got some, like I said, pictures on the jump drive, you put in the TV.
And that's
And
an open casket type service.
if it was just for a cremation, it's kind of like the bottom end of the casket almost.
Got understood. Got it.
And then we just, make it look like it's a bed, and just make them as beautiful as possible.
Are there any unusual services or unusual type requests or special requests that you do there that might answer some of the questions that pet parents might have listening to this episode?
Give me an example.
Well, I am going to give you an example. To
I remember,
you know exactly which one I'm going to give you because
yeah, I remember us talking about that.
it's how I wanted to say goodbye to Hudson, but it all happened so fast. Damn it to hell. And I did it all happened too fast, but I wanted to send off Hudson with the Viking burial. And obviously that's illegal. Well, I say obviously, it may not be obvious. It wasn't obvious to me when I first had the idea years ago that it's illegal. You can't have a type of funeral pyre type funeral. I don't think that's legal anywhere. So but the idea I had for you, though, we talked about it. I pitched the idea because I like a funeral pyre. Just like you understand the power of cremation. ashes to ashes, dust to dust. So the life cycle is complete here and now, but the memory never dies. At the funeral pyres, I think, is the most powerful celebration. So many cultures, not just the Vikings, so many cultures around the world do it, and it's so beautiful and powerful. But it's illegal here in the United States, unfortunately. But I came up with an idea as I was talking to you at the Puppy Up Walk that maybe you might talk to Barbara, or not talk to Barbara and do it yourself. Get with Josh, and you guys will figure it out. Leave Barbara out of it, And but I love the idea of having a type of, I think the idea we had was a paper mache type boat or vessel, put it on your pond, and then have a ceremonial lighting of that, and do it where you could have the ceremony without the potential ecological
Right.
detriment, right?
Yeah, I think,
Have you had anything like that, or?
You're the first person to bring up that idea. And I was thinking we could probably do a private cremation.
Well, the Viking community is not well represented in Memphis, surprisingly.
I've almost got the haircut for it, but
you do. Yeah.
I did talk with Josh, and it's one of those. Like you said, I don't think Barbara would go for it. She might surprise me though. But if we did it kind of like what you and I were saying, where everybody had a candle and stood around the pond, and we put the remains onto the boat, trying to figure out the best way to shoot the arrow. I mean, we've all got archery equipment, but
it worked on Game of Thrones. That's all I remember. They got that one perfect shot out there just to
right. That might take a little bit of
but I love the fact that you're open to it, though. You are open to special requests. But as you know, everything is a negotiation. Almost everything is a negotiation in terms of trying to figure out how to make it work for everybody, right?
Right.
And make it so that it fits within regulatory constraints and everything, all the other considerations. That's just the way life works. And I love the fact that you and Josh are open. What's that?
No, go ahead. Finish. I've got a story to tell.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. So you said you kind of like morbid stuff. We have had a lot of special requests, but they're ones that are just don't feel respectful in a sense. We've been asked to remove teeth, which is really difficult unless it's an older dog. Don't mind doing that, but normally it's just not possible.
Can I stop you there before we go on to the next one, which is probably going to creep me out a little bit more? Did they provide you with a reason?
Not entirely, just that they wanted
to keep them, or
wanted to keep a tooth.
Oh, just keep as a keepsake.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
So that one's not too bad.
Okay.
We've also had somebody had a beautiful husky, and he's like, "Well, can you skin it for me?"
Oh no, yeah, that's enough of that.
And I was like, "We can't do that, sir. You got a taxidermist. We've been asked to stuff at him." I was like, "No, we're not in the." I just would not feel comfortable.
You have boundaries. We all have to have boundaries.
And we have standards
and boundaries. We all have to do that. But I'm an artist. I am an artist. I'm a legit artist. And different things appeal to different people for different reasons. And I'm not judgmental in any way. I try not to be. I try to look at it does that work for me or not? Or does it make sense for me or not? And so I know that, and I'm not being critical, but that would certainly not. I understand maybe they wanted to somehow, but I have to give you another story. Is that when Murphy was about to pass away in 2011, I was here in Memphis, and I got a call from an Animal Planet production company that wanted me to come on and do a show with them, and their entire show was about taxidermy. And it was not just taxidermy as in roadkill and hunting, it was companion animal taxidermy. And so I'm sitting there, and Murphy's on the last stages. He's got cancer coming out of his snout and lost an eye and stuff. I'm crying every day. I'm drinking too much and I'm a mess and stuff. And the guys call me and I'm like, hell no. Because again, going back to what I was saying is that I can't look at a taxidermied, I can't look at Murphy stuffed and feel anything towards that other than why is that that's not him, right?
Right.
But again, I'm not critical. That doesn't work for me. It's not my relationship, and for whatever reason, it's just not how it goes. So there are the strange requests, such as,
There are.
do you want to taxidermy your pet? Because for some people that appeals to them. Maybe they want to have a conversation, maybe they're a little alone, and that's they set a place at the table and they want to have a. I know I still talk to husband.
Yeah, I didn't want to. I'm like you.
I
I
want to
don't.
normalize it. Put tea there, give them a serving. Hey, God bless them if that's their thing.
Right.
And it's respectful, as you said, and it's respectful.
Right. And I didn't want to like put him down. It was a shocking request. And I'm like you, I don't have any, if that's what you want to do,
Yeah.
you're able to do that. But we ethically couldn't feel like we could do
I
something.
don't think legally you can't either. I think there are, yeah, I think legally you can't.
Right.
To be the bigger concern, but you referred them and you told them where they could go.
Right.
If then a taxidermist could do an exceptional job and preserve what I'd say hideous notion, but to me, but you weren't disrespectful at all, and I think that. But see, I love that about Dixie is that you are respectful to different cultures and
Yes, sir.
different practices, different rituals, and because we do all have our own way of saying goodbye.
Now, one of the special services we do provide, which I don't recommend it for everyone, is there's some people that want to see their pet placed into the crematory.
I'm sorry.
Into the crematory.
Witness the
Correct.
cremation process.
And so we do have a room and a window that is set up just for that, because I understand there's a lot of stuff that has happened with other people that weren't ethical, that you find out that they don't know if they got their pet back or
Right.
Something like that. That would be hard. I understand you want that peace knowing this is my baby.
That would be right.
And
I
so,
think on a Viking ship or a ship would be easy, but watching him go into an conflict would be extremely hard for me. But it seems like it's a quality control issue and a concern. And
right.
as you were saying, that's understandable because there are so many businesses practice bad criminal business practices. But so that's another wonderful thing about Dixie, that you have a window and you allow them to do that. Again, you give them the ability to do that. And that provides them with some assuredness that the actions that come back to them are those of their own.
Yes, sir.
That's very important. So, gosh, you have a chapel there, you have the memorial, the honor garden, you have the gazebo, the pond, everything in the cemetery. It's just, again, Ginger, my apologies, or maybe it's your fault. You're the co-producer. It's your fault. You should have had pictures of Dixie so we could have just done a gallery thing and just scrolled through them. We'll figure that out, because and also if I would love for our audience, if you have pictures of your own pet gardens there where you're located, send it to fuzzybutstudios.com. Would love to see those as well. I think anyone that honors our loved ones, I think that's such a powerful thing. All right.
Well, I have one thing to interject. So that with you saying, Josh, that I could actually watch, one of my dogs go in there. And I know that there is competition for Dixie, and I know that some of it is outside of Shelby County. And I know that they're used, but I like Dixie because I know where you are, and my dogs do not travel without me while they're alive, and I don't want them going anywhere without me once they've passed. And it just makes me, if I have any questions, I can go out there and watch it. That's not something that I want to do, but I trust you and everybody else that works at Dixie and Barbara with my animals, and I can't even imagine sending them like out of the county to go someplace else. I just wanted to put that in there, and there you go.
Yeah, we're a private business. I think most of the other ones now have become corporate.
Okay.
And there's basically a number or a barcode, and the process with ours, it's your pet's name and who they are, and the owner's name, that is their identification. They're not a number. And we treat, like I said, we treat every pet. It doesn't matter if you're doing the scattered garden or the private cremation, even if it's the group cremations that we pick up from the clinic, they're all treated the exact same way. And we take pride in that. We have a high high thing of integrity. If something, which I don't see how it would, because we've kind of got it's almost stupid proof. Um, but if we honestly messed up, and we're not going to just give you a bag and say this is your pet. We're going to bend over backwards to apologize, but we've never had that happen. So, but we hold that because I want to be able to go to bed at night with a peace, knowing that
Right.
I did the best job and that I got to be truthful. We don't have to lie to anybody. It's very straightforward. And that's what I love about this job is that we get to do that. And, I get to feel better at the end of the day knowing you're helping people.
Well, if you're right, if it's corporate, then they would just give you a number, call 1-800, and then we'll deal with the problem. And I think that's so great that Barbara has resisted the temptation that so many business owners have is selling out, cashing in. But let's all hope that Barbara has done her pre-planning and got that arranged, her estate planning in order. Because Ginger and I have seen what the corporatization of veterinary medicine has done. And in terms of maybe not the quality of care, it potentially does reduce costs and gives more patients access. But at the end of the day, it's a relationship business, right? This isn't dollars and cents. I have my own belief that I think anyone making money off of pet parents in whatever capacity should somehow be a nonprofit. But that's just not tenable in this world, because at least the nonprofit side of it dissuades corporatization, prevents corporatization of businesses. All right, let's speaking of Barbara's pre-planning for her business, let's talk about pre-planning. Ginger mentioned it before. She got a little bit over anxious and overshot it a little bit. But it is important and it is a question because there are financial considerations. So what do parents, I keep calling them pet parents. I hate that. My apologies. What do parents need to know about pre-planning for their companion animals? Daniel.
They can come in and just say, I don't know what I want yet. I don't know if I want to do a burial or cremation. And they're going, but I don't have all the money right now. And they want to go ahead and just start paying on it a little bit at a time. Or they can go ahead and make all the arrangements and pay for it in full, or they can just pay for it in increments. That way, when that moment does come, that is taken care of. Or if they want to do a burial and they just want to reserve a certain spot, they can come in and put a deposit down on that, and that spot would be reserved. That happens a lot if they do a burial and they want a space or 2 or 3 beside theirs. They can go ahead and reserve those places so that they'll be there for them in the future.
Right. Well, I have to preface this by saying that most of our audience is not in Memphis, unfortunately, and not located here. So Daniel, does Dixie's website, is it a pretty good resource for parents to go to so that they can get a good understanding of the process, the questions they need to ask, the planning they need to do, and then hopefully look for a pet garden in their own neighborhood? Is your website pretty good?
I would say so. It's one of those, I've kind of laid it out. I probably think there's probably still a little bug here or there, but
there always is.
It's got everything laid out fairly well. It's got the different services, the pricing's all there, the different types of urns. If there's even people that got a cremation done somewhere else and they want to purchase an urn from us,
yeah,
it won't be the same cost as on the website because that's included with the cremation service. But we have shipped out a lot of different urns, shipped caskets to people, and we try to just be there for everybody. It isn't just your neighbors. We want it to be a community type of thing for animal lovers. So we try to be, I don't know if we touched on it, but I think once a month or every 2 months, we do like a pet loss support group.
Nope, we haven't gotten there yet. Wow, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
But we try to, I think our website is pretty good. It's got pictures of everything, our honor garden. It's got different seasons of the pictures and the things here. So I would say it would be a very decent guideline.
Good, good. We'll get your contact, the website information here in a second. I wasn't going to skip over it, but you did allude to it before. But so in terms of bereavement support, you have a pet loss support group there that meets once every month, 2 months.
Yes, sir. It's
Good.
normally on a Sunday afternoon, I believe, from like 3 to 4, if I'm remembering correctly.
How does that do? Because I've tried to put together a pet support group, and I've been to a couple before, and I've had sort of mixed experiences. Is it a benefit, or do people come for that?
We do. It's kind of hit or miss sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes you'll have several people come, and sometimes it's just one. And then you'll go a couple of months and nobody's here. But I also think some of that is because of what Josh and Cody and I do when they bring their pets in or they pick up. Um,
Sure.
I think we do kind of a small session there a lot of times.
Right. Right. Well, and then I guess maybe I should have said it differently. What I learned from my experiences with pet support and helping coping with grief and loss is that it just doesn't go away. It doesn't help. It's
No,
good. It doesn't mitigate it at all, at least for me. But being there part of a community or with people sometimes helps for that moment, but it certainly doesn't go away, and it doesn't mitigate that grief. Everybody has to come to that inflection point on their own.
it's
Unfortunately,
different for everybody.
it is.
People grieve differently. I think a lot of times the best thing to do is to talk about it.
Yep.
To share stories, to share memories. And it's probably going to hurt at the time, but I think that hurt causes healing. And because you don't want people want to say, well, I want to forget about it so it doesn't hurt, but that's not really how it works with life, you know?
No.
And I think by kind of going through that hurt, it's just instills those memories because that's what life is about.
You're
And
sorry.
no, you're good, man. Um, Especially with dogs. I'm a cat lover too, but with all animals, if we treated each other and forgave each other, how our animals do, even when we do something wrong or accidentally step on their foot or their tail or they get in trouble, they immediately forgive and they're always showing love. And us as a community, as a world, if we would treat each other that way, if we'd learn from our pets, how much better this world would be. And, because our cats got different pets, all pets got different personalities, but
Absolutely.
yet
Sure
they
do.
always still love. On the grieving side of it, people ask me a lot of times, well, when do I know when it's time to get a new pet? Like, again, that's different for everyone. And I don't think you always know when you're ready, but I think a lot of times God sends an animal, even though you don't think you are, that is going to be healing. And a lot of times they pick you, and those are some of the best animals you can get. They just understand you. I've had so many that were, when I was growing up, that knew my little tricycle and my little lead, my black cats. They always knew when I had a bad day, and they would come and sit. They most of the time they want a little pet and they go home. But when I was hurting, they always came to me. I had my dog Misty, and just I've got so many different pets I can't even name them all that mean so much to me. And it was tough. But I've also had so many that I've learned this is a part of life, but I've never forgotten any of them.
Yeah. That's beautifully put, Daniel. So beautifully put. And you're such a passionate, caring person, and it means a lot to you. And I met you for the first time Sunday, and I wasn't sure what to expect out of you. And I got to say, I'm very pleased that you were part of the podcast, and that because I can see the care and the love and how it's affected you personally. And to me, that's all that matters. I've had veterinarians that have never had dogs before. It's in my rule now. I don't go to vets that don't have dogs. Don't do that. But you can tell the difference between someone that cares and they've been there before, they've been through it before, and someone who has not. And you clearly have, as as well as me and Ginger. Getting a little choked up again. My apologies.
Right there.
But we've all been through that. And Daniel, you just have, it's just been a beautiful podcast. But I don't want to leave anything out though. Is there anything else you'd like to say to pet parents out there that are going through this right now or anticipating going through this?
They need to know that they're not alone. You know, sometimes this is the only family member these people have, and those are heartbreaking. But we're here to help. It's not the end. You know, it's not the end of life. It hurts and it may feel like that. But, you know, what would your pet want you to do? Does your pet want you to, they don't want you to, you won't want you to forget about them, but they want you to be able to continue their life. They didn't love you for your life to just stop. And I think a lot of them also know that I know I meant a lot to you, and that you thought there's not going to ever be another pet like me. It may be true, but I also believe that there's other pets out there that need that love that's never received it.
That's right.
And sometimes needing to heal is helping another pet heal and showing them compassion, but that they're not alone. There's a place that even if they don't use us, if they just need to talk, if they just need to kind of get it out or need a hug or somebody to hold them while they cry, that's who I am. I'm a big hugger, and I'm very empathetic to people's grief and sorrow and other things. And that's what I want to do. It's what I like about here is that we get to help people.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just a service. It's not just a job. I had one lady, I think it's a little bit extreme, but that it's a ministry. I don't think it's quite like that.
That's right.
But in a sense, we're just wanting to serve our community. And I just feel sorry for them because, like I said, I know what it's like when you go through that and you don't know how you're going to get through it. And sometimes it's just a day at a time.
That's right. That's right.
And surround yourself with people that love you or people that are in the same boat as you are, just to be able to talk about. I think talking is really important instead of holding it in. That's something I had to learn as I grew up. Is holding it in is not doing anybody any good. Write it down. Write stories. Write your thought. Talk to your pet,
Right.
even though they're not physically. They're there. Their spirit is there, and I get looked at funny by the other guys. When people bring a pet in, I talk to them. If I'm giving one a bath or giving it with a blow dryer, cleaning them off, or we're doing paw prints, the whole way through, I'm talking to them. And I think they're a creation, a beautiful part of life that we don't get anywhere else except from them. And of God, of course, but I think it's a small representation. It's our job to be the person that takes care of them.
Well, you are actually a minister in the sense that you're preaching to the choir, our audience, because we all agree with you 100%, and your words are profound and beautiful. I can tell that you're a beautiful man as well. You'll never have to hug me. Don't worry about that. If I ever have to, hopefully never use your services again, which that's
I think I've gotten a few hugs.
I bet. Well, as we wrap things up, Daniel, on this powerful, poignant podcast episode, can you give our audience your website information again, and also social media if you're on there as well?
Yeah, it's DixieMemorial.com. And then Barbara does the Facebook page. I think it's also just Dixie Memorial Pet Gardens. Okay. She posts on there throughout the day, different things like that. And something I don't know if we've had people do, but if people want to put up a picture of their pet, still with us or not, and want to share a story, I'm all for it. You know, we want to hear about it.
Right. Yeah, it all comes down to the stories. It's the story and the experience in their life, and I know as a parent, I'm always looking to tell Hudson's, Murphy's, and Malcolm's story. It's so important. Well, you help provide an important part of the story, closing the story out, and Dixie Memorial does it beautifully. So, Daniel, thank you so much for being here on Fuzzybutts and Friends. Hang on a second, because I almost forgot, Ginger. It's that time of our show where I ask you if I've screwed things up. I know I have. I cried a bunch, and I had a tough time getting through this one. I anticipated because I talk about cancer all the time, and for some reason this was a little bit harder for me. So did I leave anything out or forget anything, Ginger?
You did not leave anything out or forget anything. I think we covered it, and if you didn't cover it, I just interjected and moved along. So there you go.
You certainly made sure that none of the bullet points were missed. That's a little bit early, but that's okay. We're Fuzzybutts and Friends, and we have fun around here because, like you said, Daniel, it's all about the Fuzzybutts. So, all right, everyone. Thank you.
I've got a good story if we go out on a laugh.
Absolutely. Let's totally go out on a laugh, Daniel.
Okay.
Totally.
So one of my first dogs was Misty. She was a black and tan weenie dog.
Oh gosh, we love.
I already love her.
One of my favorite. And I don't know how my mom got her, but she was there before I came around. And it was one of those that mom would sneak her into Walmart, the store, in her purse or in her jacket, and carry her everywhere. And she loved popcorn and M&Ms, which they didn't know at that time chocolate was bad for dogs. But I said, Mama, you just rattle a bag of M&Ms, she'd come flying from wherever she was, that or popcorn. And unfortunately, she ended up developing heart issues, which they're not sure if it was hereditary, whatever. But she would pass out just random. And she's like, what are we supposed to do? And the vet said, well, give her a teaspoon of whiskey. Mama said, I don't drink. And she said, well, it'll jumpstart her heart and she'll be fine. Mama said she hated it at first. But just like most people she just got to where she enjoyed it. She would just wake up licking her lips and just act like she would want some more. So I've always enjoyed that story.
Did she start faking
tell me her
passing
name
out so
again.
she could hit?
Tell me her name again. You cut out when you were saying it.
Misty.
Misty, the whiskey.
Yeah.
So she became quite the whiskey drink.
Yeah, Jack Daniels, I think it was.
And I don't think I ever heard about that. I'm no longer a drinker, but now I can actually see a use for having a flask around if in one of the Fuzzybutts I'm anywhere near. Just that actually works. Just put some. That actually works.
Yeah, it worked. Mom said it was like a charm.
Wow. Well, God bless Misty. That's a beautiful story. It's a funny story. I love it. I got to see a picture of her. I think Doxy's. It sounds like Misty is actually Ginger's spirit animal. So when I come out there, Daniel,
I'll see if I can get with my mom.
All right.
I got to tell one more.
Sure.
My first cat was Tricycle. She was a three-legged cat. And the lady couldn't bear it cold and started her car. And she brought her in. Nobody would take her because she was black. And my dad says, what are we going to name a three-legged cat? He said, Tricycle. And
I like that.
I would get in a box as a baby, and she would come by and she'd flick her tail. I'd grab her tail, and she'd pull me across the carpet, just dig them claws in. So my mama would spat me and tell me, no, don't do that. She said, dang, if that cat didn't come back over and keep putting her tail up there so she could do it.
You see that's a perfect story. It brings it back to the beginning where, they're just, their personalities are so unique and individual. I would imagine 99.99 of all the other cats in the universe would never do that. But this was it. So what was the three-legged kitty's name?
Tricycle.
Oh, it was. So you did go with Tricycle.
Yeah, he said it was either arithmetic, but Tricycle worked better. So
all right. Well, we got it. We got to wrap things up. We try to keep it an hour. We went a little bit long, but it was just such an important topic. And Daniel, thank you again for being on Fuzzybutts and Friends.
I appreciate you having me.
And anytime you guys have something going on, when we start the Viking funeral services, the funeral pyres there, we're definitely going to have you back on the show. Maybe
Yes,
we'll
sir.
film a live episode out there, Ginger. Oh my God, that'd be great. A live episode out there at Dixie Memorial, the first funeral pyre of some sort. We can figure it out, all the details. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. We drop every Tuesday on your podcast platform, iHeartRadio or Spotify, or you can watch us live. This one you definitely want to watch live on our YouTube channel. That's fuzzybutstudios.com. Until next week, puppy up. Talk soon. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Puppy up.